Hi there, Lindsay here, the Frugal Crafter. Today I'm going to show you how I designed this project that I will be teaching live free for Michael's on September 27th. So I'll put a link in the video description if you'd like to sign up for that live class absolutely for free and grab the pattern. So here I'm sketching right onto my watercolor paper, but I will have a pattern for you, so don't worry about that. Just come to class with the pattern already transferred. I like to use graphite paper for that, but you can use whatever you like. And but I'm just sketching in with a yellow ochre Inktense pencil. And I'm using that because I know it's going to wash away when I add water to it. But you could, of course, sketch with whatever you want. Sometimes you don't want your lines to wash away, and that's totally up to you. I find it very freeing to sketch with a water-soluble pencil because I know that I can kind of manipulate the drawing later on in the painting process, and I enjoy drawing. But anytime that you want to try a technique and you don't feel comfortable drawing, go ahead and trace your reference photo. Get yourself started at a good place, and you'll actually teach yourself to draw along the way because you'll start to see how things really are instead of how you think they are. So practice, 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 and trace till you get there. And don't feel any shame about it. Just get the picture down on paper. And I decided to do a little shading with my pencils because at this point I wasn't really sure what I was going to want to use for a product. And I decided that the Inktense pan paints would actually work pretty well, and my camera ran out of juice when I was putting the background in there, so I apologize, but I just did a wet into wet wash in the background. And I'm kind of liquefied the pencils, and I'm pulling in some of those colors to add some shading onto the statuary. And what I wanted to do here with this fountain was I wanted to take something that was neutral toned and transcribe the values in that into color. So for my lightest color, I have that yellow ochre. For my darkest color, I have like a purple or an indigo. And then for my midtones, I have magenta. And I find using a triad like that, so we have like indigo, magenta, and yellow ochre, I find that a really nice triad for mixing and a nice way to kind of push your colors inside of your values. Because the indigo is such a really dark value, the magenta is very transparent, so you can mix it into a dark, dark purple, and the yellow ochre is more opaque and much lighter in value, so it really gives you those highlights nicely. And it gives you warmth, and sometimes adding a warm hue to a color can make it feel brighter and lighter, and it makes it come towards you more. So not only do you have the protruding areas of the fountain coming towards you more, standing out, being more three-dimensional, but it's also warmer in color, so it helps give you that look. I accidentally dipped into some black there because I thought it was the that indigo color, so I had to blot it out and go again. And that's why it's so important to make a swatch whenever you're using transparent colors. The darker colors in Inktense are quite transparent, but the whites and the lighter colors are more opaque, just FYI. It's always helpful to have a swatch. It's great to swatch things like watercolor pencils, watercolors, markers, really anything that looks differently when you color it out than it does in the stick, pan, or tube form. So just a little heads up there. And I keep a swatch right in my palette. It comes with a printed swatch, but I keep a painted swatch right there too, just so I can always have a quick look and see what's what. Now, as it dries, you're going to see that things go a little bit duller. It's actually a very matte paint, so you don't have that glossiness that you saw when it was wet. It looked a lot darker because you had that gloss. Once the gloss goes away, you're seeing the true color. It actually looks a little bit duller than it does in real life in this clip here, but as you can see, I'm going in with the darker tones here, the indigo mixed with some magenta. You can see how much darker it looks, and that's kind of a little bit closer to what it looks like in real life. And I'm just building up. I'm adding the crisper shadows. So when you want your lines to be nice and crisp, you want to go in with wet paint on dry paper. When you want your colors to blend or soften, you want to go in on wet paper. Inktense is not as flowy and blendy as watercolor. So even when that background was wet, I could still go in and add color onto the fountain without it blending crazy. The edges would fuzz a little bit, but the paint pretty much stays where you put it. So it's a little bit different than what you typically might see with ink or watercolors. Just a little bit something different about that makeup. In that respect, it's a little bit more like gouache, and in the fact that the white is very opaque, it's more like gouache, and in the fact that it's matte, it's similar to gouache. So if you didn't have the Inktense products and you wanted to paint along, you could use a mixture of ink and gouache or watercolor and gouache and get a very similar effect. So that's something I recommend before purchasing a new product, is to see if you can get the effect with the things you already have. Sometimes you get the effect with what you already have and you love the look, but it's kind of a hassle to use, 3 products to do what one product will do, and it's worth it to you to buy the other product. Other times you use the other products and you get the look and it looks similar and you realize you really don't like that look. It doesn't fit with your style. And then you've just saved, $100 on new paints that you didn't have to buy because you got to approximate it and see if it was for you or not. And another nice thing, if you have the opportunity, if you have friends that have a supply that you are interested in, see if you can borrow it, see if you can try it out for a couple days and see if it's something you would really get use out of. Paints are so low wearing. I know we think we're going to use our stuff up, but I've been using this set of Inktense 24 pan paints for 3 or 4 years. I think since they first came out, and I've made some dents, but the only color that I'm even remotely close to using up is the white. And these are all available open stock. So maybe you're thinking, oh, I'd really love to have that white, but I don't think I'd use the rest of the colors, or I'd really love to have that white, but I have watercolors already and gouache already. You can just buy a pan of any of these colors, which is really nice. Not all stores will have them. But a lot of your big art suppliers will have them, and you can order them. Like Blick has them, for instance. You can order them open stock. You can get the sets of all of these products at Michael's. Michael's is where I'm going to be having this live class, so you can have a shop there. They often will have deals where you buy one, get one half off, or you buy 2, get 1 free, different things like that, or you get 30% off your total purchase. So it pays to if you don't need it right away, to wait a bit and look for the sales, in my opinion. And I'm not sure if they carry these in store or not. We have a Michael's in our local town, but it doesn't have, it's not a big town, so it doesn't have everything that, a larger store would have. So, you can always take a look at your local store as well. I'm not sure what their coupon situation is, but that was always good when they would have a 40% off coupon to go and buy those larger ticket items, which, full sets of products do tend to be a larger ticket item. Now here I'm just going in with some Derwent drawing pencils and adding a little bit of highlight and shadow. And the Derwent drawing line is nice because the leads are super thick. They last a long time. They're very strong leads, but they're also very soft. So you can lay down those the white's really opaque. You can lay down those blacks and ink blues. They're very crisp and rich and dark, and they're very light fast. So it's just a wonderful product to add to your collection. But if you don't have these and you have other colored pencils, you can certainly add any details you want with those colored pencils, or leave it alone, leave it the way it is. There's nothing wrong with that either. The nice thing about doing mixed media is that you get to kind of take the easiest path to get the results that you want. So if I know I just want a little hint of color here and there, rather than adding more water into the piece and potentially lifting up previous layers, which really shouldn't happen with the Inktense products, but if you were doing gouache or watercolor, definitely a possibility. You can go dry over dry and not have any chance of lifting anything that's underneath or disturbing anything that's underneath. You're just going over it, which I think is really nice. And now I'm going back in with a mix of the yellow ochre and the white to add some kind of more neutral, stony highlights here. Now, an interesting thing about Inktense, a lot of people will ask, if it's permanent once dry, then is it going to stain? Is it going to be permanent on my palette, or will the pans seal over once I use them? No, they don't. The Inktense products are only permanent on a porous surface. So if you painted it on fabric or you painted it on paper and you fully dissolved the product, then it's permanent. But if you start going in with thick layers, those top layers, if it's thick and you've got Inktense over Inktense and it's not giving a chance to absorb into the substrate, that will be somewhat liftable. It's not like a permanent marker, it's got to have something to latch onto. And yeah, I'm just giving this a final dry, which is a great tip for removing your tape. Heat it up and it will remove a lot easier. And there you can see the finished product. And if you want to paint this live with me on September 27th, make sure you click the link in the video description, sign up for free. This offer is available to US and Canadian residents, but then there will be a replay a few days later on the Michael's YouTube channel that anyone, wherever you are in the world, can take advantage of. Thank you so much for watching. Please give me a thumbs up if you enjoyed it. Until next time, happy crafting.